This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlyn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited. Welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. On it, we like to talk about what's on our mind for that day, and today we're going to be talking about moving techniques and experiences, or it could go by the alternate title of Bound for a New House. So welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a great, 3 weeks break that we took? Maybe almost a month?
Oh, wow.
Have you all been desperately missing Zoom calls in your lives for the last 3 weeks?
No.
I know I sure haven't, so...
I have not missed Zoom calls one bit, but I'm glad to be here.
Yes. It's good to be making another episode.
The weather is super hot outside, so we are no longer inside doing Zoom calls. We are outside hammocking, or walking by the river, or taking a bike ride, or wishing our friends well as they move.
Yeah.
Right. So if you remember from the last episode that we did before we took this little break, we made mention of Holly and myself having to pack up to move, and we did. We moved dwellings. We are in the same city. Alas, we did not make a cross-country or cross-continent or intercontinent. Is it intercontinental?
International? Is that what you're looking for?
Sure.
I would say cross-continent.
Sure, cross-continent.
Especially with COVID in the middle of every consideration that you have to do when you're doing a big move like that. So I'm sure that would be really exciting for everybody to listen to. But no, we did not go to such efforts. It was just across the city. And what we thought we would do is chat a little bit about how we move and how we move efficiently. Now, Holly and I have only moved, I guess together we've moved 3 times. Technically twice but
together,
we helped
but
each
then,
other move together.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've moved several times in your life, whether it was to school or from school to school or from school to home. Yes. Or wherever. Mm-hmm. I have moved a couple of times just myself, but I think a lot of those times before we were actually married, all of those moves had nothing to do with actually relocating my stuff. It was just a temporary movement of a carload of things that I would need to take with me to survive at camp for the summer or to survive at Bible school for a year. And then I knew I was coming back to a location like my parents' house or a rental property that I was already at. So there was no consequence to leaving stuff behind. But we have been talking with people about this move for a couple of months now, and we've been really excited to move. Maybe, Holly, you can tell our listeners a little bit about the change of scenery.
We previously lived in a basement, and previous to that, we lived in another basement. And now we live in a whole house that has 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bathrooms, and it's lovely. And we can see the light, and we can open a window and feel the wind. And it's like we for real live in the real world for real. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and it opens up the opportunity to host people in a couple of, maybe not incredibly larger spaces than what we had to host people in before, but it's our space. And so we are comfortable hosting people. And I mean, as much as you can host people during this time. I just want to make it clear that we're not having ragers every Friday night. So
dance party.
Nobody calls the cops on us. Either that or we wait several years to release this episode so that we don't get in trouble for it.
Several years.
But yeah, so during the discussions that we had with other people about our move and being excited to move, we were also explaining, people always ask you, okay, well, have you started packing yet? And you look at the calendar and it's 3 weeks away and you say no because of this reason or that reason. And everybody packs at their own speed. And sometimes people can start the move early. Sometimes they have to wait till the very last day of the month. And so there's all different kinds of technicalities that come into when you can move and how quickly you can move and how efficiently you can move. But my biggest thing, and I know one of Holly's things as well, maybe not her biggest, but it's definitely a priority, is to be able to do it efficiently and do it quickly, because nobody wants to spend weeks and weeks and months moving and packing. And when you have a whole house and several family members, maybe that is the case. But there's just the two of us, and we don't want to spend all of our time doing that. So
Well, I don't want to live out of boxes. Boxes suck.
Yeah, like after you move, you just want everything unpacked and you want it done as quickly as possible. But the question remains, how do you do that? And I don't know that we have the...
beforehand, too. Like, beforehand, you don't want to live out of boxes. You pack your stuff up too early and then having to find things in your boxes again.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why you pack your whole kitchen, and then you have an excellent excuse to eat at fast food restaurants for the next whole week, and it's lovely. You don't have to cook, and you don't have to worry about calories because all your stuff is packed up. You can't even make good decisions anyway.
So when people ask us, have you started packing? Then we get into a little bit of the details about how we're going about packing. And the biggest thing that always comes up is, I think, organizing and labeling the boxes, because boxes always seem to get missed in the moves. You have a box in a random room where it shouldn't have ended up. And so then you can't find it for, days or weeks, however long it takes you to unpack. So Holly and I had come up with a system 2 moves ago that we felt worked relatively well. So we're just going to share that with you a little bit, and maybe you can glean some helpful tips from it for your next move. So Holly, why don't you start with just kind of your thought process behind when to start moving and like how early to start packing and kind of what to tackle first.
Well, I felt a great urge to start packing about 3 weeks before. Chris and I had differing ideas about when to start packing because he was more concerned about having to live out of the boxes beforehand. And so I packed some stuff that I knew that I wouldn't need. I packed my art stuff that it's okay if I don't do art for 3 weeks, and it's okay if I don't wear my winter coat in the middle of summer for 3 weeks, and some things like that. But when I look at moving, I got really nerdy, and I was like, I just want to make a list of all the rooms. And so I made a list of all the rooms that were going to be in our new place, and I gave them all a name, a pretty straightforward name, but something that would describe like where it was. Like second bedroom doesn't actually describe where it was. It's like upstairs bedroom necessarily, and then I gave them each a color so that everything could be color coded because that's the best thing there is. And then we also made little labels for each room so that when people were helping us take the boxes into the house, they could just go find the room, and then once they knew where it was, they knew where it was. But I found that most efficient, mostly because I wanted to color code things. That's really the reason.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to note that because we have quite a few friends and acquaintances that live in the same city as us, we hadn't anticipated either this move or the previous move doing it completely all by ourselves. We had already talked to people ahead of time, tried to see if there was people around that could help us. And so the labels weren't just so much for us, because you think when you're packing boxes that you'll remember where the boxes go, but then by the time you're done packing boxes, you have forgotten what's in the first couple of boxes you packed. It's like really easy to forget. So don't kid yourself, just label your boxes if you've ever considered not labeling them. I don't know why you would.
And you have so much more stuff than you think you do. I don't know if you guys find this in your moves, but like I've always found that I have so much more stuff than I thought I had in my house.
Yeah, you just uncover stuff from corners or bottom shelves or storage.
Well, moving is always a great opportunity to find out the stuff that you do not need and that you didn't know you had, but it's just taking up space.
Yes.
Or those things that you're like, I really don't need this, but I still want to hold on to it for another 10 years, But yeah, did you guys do the whole color coding thing or labeling last time?
Yeah, we did. We did the color coding. It was a lot less intense because there were a lot less
4 rooms or whatever. Yeah. So it's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot more straightforward for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we labeled the boxes like that in part for ourselves, but also because we knew that we would be enlisting help. And as Holly mentioned, if you have a box that says main bathroom or main floor bathroom or upstairs bedroom, then people can look at that box and they might not have even walked into the house before, but they are, 99 times out of 100 able to put that box down exactly where you would want it. And then that just makes our unpacking a little bit easier because the boxes are already where they're organized or where they will be organized. And it maximizes the efficiency of unpacking them because then you can do it room by room rather than having to run from room to room, opening a box and then having to suddenly clear that whole room out to put a shelf in, to put the boxes in, because the way that we've done it, now the boxes and the shelves are already in each of the rooms that they intend to be in their final state. So,
So I'm curious, where'd you get all the boxes from?
It was a bit of a mishmash. We got some free boxes from our friends Ashley and Heidi, and there's a lot of those boxes. They were pretty big, and we had to mark some of them as heavies that like people had to lift with another person, because once your stuff gets into the boxes, they get heavier and heavier, and you're like, oh, I'll just fill up the rest with Tupperware, but you can only do that once, and then all your Tupperware is gone. And then where else? My work, we got a few boxes, not a lot of boxes, smaller boxes from my workplace because the lab had just ordered in some glassware. And so there was a whole bunch of packing paper and stuff in those boxes. And that was really helpful. And then I think the rest of the bulk of the boxes we got from Stevie, our friend, because she had just moved. And she had a whole bunch of Good Eats and HelloFresh boxes. If you're familiar with those companies, they're for anybody that's not, the
Good Food
companies that send you is it Good Food? Not Good Eats. Whatever. They send you food in a box and then you make your own meal. But the box is lined with this, I don't know, like a thick...
Like insulation lining?
Yeah, it's like an insulation, but it's also cardboard. And so those boxes were actually really good for like dishes and stuff because the box was already lined with like an inch thick insulation. So you didn't have to worry about them being battered around or anything.
Rattling around in there.
Yeah, it was really good. So we got them all for free, which is nice. I don't think we've ever had to pay for boxes. We've gone to liquor stores or whatever if we don't have. We just never go and purchase some.
Again, because of COVID, it really adjusted the way that we went about procuring boxes, because previously we wouldn't maybe have had a big issue just searching up Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji for somebody that was either getting rid of a whole bunch or selling, 50 of them for $10 or something because they had just moved with them, and you can just buy them. But now everybody's very concerned and aware of that contact tracing with the virus, and so I didn't go to any stores to get boxes, whereas in the previous move that we did, we hit up things like Giant Tiger and Mark's Work Warehouse for like sturdier, bigger boxes, and then you could go to Walmart, or I don't think actually Walmart, Dollarama or something. We got a bunch of smaller boxes from somewhere else, and like the liquor store, like you said, they have pretty solid boxes that are smaller, that works really great for things like videos and fragile stuff, like you said. But yeah, maybe that's worth diving into just really quickly there too. When you pack, what is your preference? I mean, Greg and Ashlyn, you can answer this too for whatever it relates to your experiences. What do you prefer to pack in what size or type of box? Or are you the kind of person that just like fills a box as you can, puts like a fragile sticker on it if there's glass in it, and just hopes that you remember or that people remember? Like, are you not really worried about it, or are you very particular about how you organize the things that you move?
When it comes to moving, I prefer to do none of the work.
Okay.
Oh, do you hire a company?
No, I've moved very few times in my life. I'm thankful that I've never moved that many times in my life, because I hate packing. It is one of my great nemesis in my life that I deal with on a regular basis. I thwart it as much as possible. And so when it comes to packing, my strategy is to bring over those who will love and accept me no matter how I respond to them or deal with them. And then I start packing, and then I start crying, and then the other person finishes the packing.
Oh boy.
I think that's
a process. That's a
strategy for success. Really build those core group of people who will love you and accept you. That's step one.
Step one.
But yeah,
sounds like a great book. Like strategy for success. Bracket. Sobbing on the floor while somebody else does the work or something like that. End bracket.
Pretty much.
Oh dear.
Another strategy for success is an artist by the name of Fernando Ortega. He does calm and peaceful hymns. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Have in the background just to keep you focused, keep you chill.
That's funny.
But yeah, I think the last time I moved was 6 or 7 years ago into the house I'm in now. And at that time, I had very limited furniture that I was moving and no kitchen stuff. So I was basically just moving my clothes and like my school things and a couple of pieces of furniture, and that was it. So we were able to do it in the back of my dad's truck, just load everything up, and it was an ordeal. It was those emotions were high.
Oh no, that's an easy move too. That's too bad.
I know. It makes me want to never move out of this house.
I don't mind packing, so I guess
hence why you get this kind of support system around you. Marry a person who loves to move, who likes packing, who will love you regardless, who is literally contractually obligated to love you. That's why
you're locked in.
Locked in. Yeah.
Trap them while they're young.
I know for our family, I think we tended to just move like pretty well. Most things were just like put into like those big Rubbermaid bins.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so we just bought a ton of those because those are easy like to just like throw in your garage afterwards or whatever. You can like store stuff in it still. And so yeah, I think for us like it was mostly that, and then like the odd probably cardboard box, but for our moves it was all just Rubbermaid bins, and it just made it more of like a standard size. You just throw stuff in there and then make sure that all your...
Well, they nest really well as well.
Yeah, so. And make sure that all your fragile stuff is, just coated in towels or blankets or whatever, and you're pretty well good to go.
So Ashlyn mentioned having only moved once with very limited furniture and possessions, and then moving once into a larger place. Or was that the move that you made into this place, was with the limited furniture and whatnot in the back of your dad's truck?
That was into this place.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
At the time I was living with roommates here, and one of my roommates supplied like 80% of the kitchen stuff.
Nice.
So I really came with almost nothing. My parents did let us take an old kitchen table and chairs with us, so they set that up. But other than that, of stuff of my own, it was almost nothing.
Yeah, so the move that Holly and I first made right after we got married into our first place together, which was, as she mentioned, a basement suite. At that point, we already had a few larger furniture items of our own, where Holly had a full bed and mattress set. Both of us had a couple of bookshelves. Holly had a desk that she used for all of her schoolwork and other things. So there were some larger items, but we did end up also purchasing, shortly after we had moved in, we purchased things like a dresser. Not a dresser. What is it called?
It's called a dresser.
Well, the dressers are the tall ones, aren't they? What are the wide ones?
Armoire?
Also a dresser. No, it's not an armoire. Those have doors.
I have no idea.
Dressers have doors.
Okay, so I guess a low, wide dresser. Pants are not dressers.
No, but they have drawers. It's funny. Yeah, everybody got it now.
Welcome back, everyone, to Holly's Funny Zone.
And
with
to
your host.
Holly makes few jokes and nobody gets them.
No, but that was a pun joke. And if I had made it, you probably would have booed me.
I mean, you could have booed me if you had understood the joke.
I mean, I would tune in for Silly Songs with Holly.
Yeah, there we go. The part
of our show where we get completely distracted from the topic at hand.
Yep.
Off topic.
Yeah.
We gotta add that in. We can do a segment.
That happens like once an episode anyways. This wouldn't be too hard to just shoehorn in. We'll just make it a sponsored segment. But yeah, so we bought a few larger furniture items once we did move in together. But prior to that move, I had also gone to Bible school for a year, like I mentioned, and also gone to camp for a summer. And those moves were nothing in comparison because I packed up everything that I ever really wanted to use into my car. And now we're loading 26-foot U-Haul trailers, like floor to ceiling with the stuff, and still putting things in everybody else's truck, like a patio table and things like that. So you do accumulate a lot of stuff. And it's very interesting, the priorities that you give to that smaller move versus the larger move, just based on the fact that you're not coming back, right? So like I said, if I'm coming back to my parents' house or coming back to a roommate's house at the end of the summer, I can leave a bunch of stuff there and it doesn't really matter as long as I'm paying him some rent money. But when you move out of a place, if you don't move it all on that day or by the end of the month or whatever your timeline is, like the day of the move is what I'm trying to say is the day of the move, I get very anxious. Because there's a lot to do.
Oh, really?
There's a lot to do, and it has to all be done on that day.
I wouldn't have known, Chris, that you were anxious that day, or the whole 2 weeks leading up to it, even.
And that was sarcastic Holly.
The part of our show where we just take pot shots at Chris. Well, yeah, because the thing for me is I want to make it as efficient as possible, right? That's the whole theme of this, is to be as quick and as efficient.
That's the name of the game.
As possible. Yeah. And when you have to clean out a whole space, like a whole house or a suite, and offload into the new suite and then come back and clean, maybe that's what we can just kind of talk on next is...
That's the part that I need a loving support group for, because... because
the cleaning?
I hate that part so much. Cleaning the walls. Oh, walls are the worst. The absolute utter worst. And this last move, we were extremely blessed to have 6 other friends or something like that came and started cleaning even before we got back to our place, or to our previous place.
Right, because we had to drop off the U-Haul and stuff on the way back.
Yeah, and they were half done by the time we got there, and I felt bad that they'd cleaned everything, but I also felt thank
relieved.
The Lord, because I hate it so much. And I did do some floors, but other than that, we dropped off the U-Haul and got there and then organized supper because we were feeding everybody, which I think is important when you have volunteers when you move. You need to feed them whatever meals that they're there for because they deserve it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they cleaned for us and it was glorious. I hate cleaning.
That's something I've never had to do because I've only moved out of my family home into this home. And so I've never had to do the deep clean that you do when you move.
It's the worst.
It's not actually, honestly, it's not for a small basement suite or maybe just an upstairs suite. I don't know about how it'll be when we move out of this house eventually, because this is a couple of extra spaces, and that means an extra 10 walls / ceilings and doors to have to clean. But it's not
baseboards and windowsills and light fixtures and everything that you don't normally think about cleaning because they're there and they have to be cleaned and your landlord's not going to give you your money back. I hate it.
How do you wash walls?
With a cloth and water and some soap. Or Tim had this fun extendable thing that's kind of like a Swiffer that you can reach up to the top of the wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tim is another friend of ours, for those listening in.
That's true.
Yeah. I've only ever washed the walls of my bathroom, to be honest. because it gets so humid in there that it gets really dusty on the walls really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Holly, as you were listing off all of those different things that need to be cleaned, you looked as if you were like in a horror movie, just like glancing around your shoulder at all this scary tasks that need to be done.
Oh, they're awful.
I need to clean this.
It's coming for me.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I took the lead on, and it's one of the things that I typically take the lead on when it comes to organizing and planning, like I would consider this an event, because there's so many people that you're facilitating. About the time of 3 weeks earlier that Holly was starting to get antsy to start packing, I had already for a week, no, I think it was probably 2 or 3 weeks earlier than that, I had already created a Facebook, a private Facebook event. And I really like using things like Facebook, short little plug for Facebook events here, but I really like using Facebook events because they are constantly changing the way that the events are laid out and the interactions that you can have on the events. But if you're a host of an event, you have a whole bunch of new-ish in the last year or so options for when you're posting. For example, you can turn discussion pages on or off so that if people have questions, they're forced to message you directly rather than just posting it and maybe you not seeing it, or people not reading each other's messages and posting the same conversation or question 3 or 4 times. You can also do what I did and set up a actual schedule so you can break it down by like however
itinerary
long you want the segments to be. Yeah. And so I broke it down by 1.5 or 2 hour segments. And it was like, we're going to start at 9 a.m. at this location. And then we are going to go at noon. We're going to do this. And then at 1, we're going to have lunch. And then we're going to go back to the other place at this time. And then we're going to drop off the U-Haul and start cleaning at this time. And as people have the Facebook app, they can just look onto it during the day. And so if you have people popping in and out during the day to help you, that's really helpful for them too, because then they just look on the app and they can see, okay, 12:30 is supposed to be when they're leaving to go have lunch at the old location. So I can just give a quick text and say, or a phone call and just say, hey, is this actually where you're at? And then that way I feel people feel a lot more comfortable because they actually know where you're supposed to be and they have the freedom to come and help when they can. We never expected people to necessarily stay the whole day. And so that also helps keep us on track, because it means that when we're packing in not packing, but loading. When we're loading the truck and stuff like that, we're loading in a manner of, okay, you look at your watch and like an hour has passed. Well, how much of the truck have we packed? Is it half the truck? If not, then we only have another hour to pack the other half. So we either need to speed up or we need to figure out what, you can kind of gauge yourself and keep yourself in check during the day. And then the day doesn't get away on you and it's not 5 hours later and you're still packing the truck. Now, again, this changes depending on how big your family is and how big of a move you're doing. But for Holly and I, the first time that we did the move at our, 2 houses previous to our previous house to this, we did the whole pack up of the truck in about an hour and a half. And we had 6 or 7 people helping us do that. And so then we gauged probably an hour and a half to 2 hours for this pack up. And it actually took 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's just trial and error. We'll never get it right every single time. But if you're efficient with the way that you're packing and labeling things, you can spend way less time worrying about, is this a box of fragile stuff or isn't it? And you can just put it right into the designated area. It just makes it way quicker. And I mean, if you're that kind of a person where organization is the thing that gets you going in the morning,
brings you joy.
Yeah, then
sparks joy.
Yeah.
This does spark joy, right?
Yeah. I will say, as a helper of one of the times you guys moved, as a participant, it's the whole process is so much richer and better if I can go into it with the confidence knowing that the people who are moving are organized and have things laid out and will be able to direct me and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing, or that I will already know in advance what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I pulled up the old Facebook event from the move that we ended up going to.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2018. And you have like the timeline. Okay, 9 a.m. we're supposed to meet here. We'll be loading up the U-Haul. Then 12:30. We're going to get some food delivered. If we aren't done unloading, then we'll, finish. We'll take a break, and then 2 p.m. And then you just kind of have everything laid out. And then you have like what to bring as a participant, like, hey, if you want to bring some work gloves or closed-toed shoes, just in case, feel free. And then, and then you have everything, like even parking. You explain where people should park and stuff, just so that people don't approach the house and go, okay, I don't know where to park. What am I supposed to be doing now? Which thing do I move? What's our timeline? And when are we going to get out of here? Is there food involved? And all of those things where as a participant, we've done helping out a few friends move, and it's definitely been those who have things organized and planned that just make the process so much more enjoyable to help them move.
Sure.
Like we've been in a place where, there's chaos. It's just, and children are crying and things are,
Ashlyn's crying.
Usually. And it's just like, there's no order to anything. You're stepping over like boxes of things just to try to move things out because they want to get this particular piece out. And it's so much just a better experience to be able to go, okay, I know exactly what I'm getting into. And I know that the people who I'm helping out know where things are headed. And I can go in with confidence knowing that I'm not going to be standing there looking like an idiot wondering, what should I be doing next? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially with an event like this where there is going to be some uncertainty no matter what. Like, for instance, we had all of this planned out, but when we got to the actual packing of the truck, it was, okay, Chris is in there doing Jenga, making sure everything goes where it should, but what do we need to bring out next? And then he would give us some idea, like bring me the couch or something like that. But you would have to, there's a bunch of boxes on the couch. We're going to bring those up first, and just put them to the side. So there's always going to be some of that uncertainty, but the more organized that you can be about it, I agree with you. I think that it makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, it makes the day way less stressful for everyone involved. So,
although I do think that the timeline gives certain people anxiety about sticking to the scheduled time.
There's nothing wrong with sticking to the schedule.
No, but if it needs to take a little longer, it's okay. It'll be all right.
I think a great baseline for when you're organizing an event like moving, or just any event when people are talking about the details, the fine details about what to bring, where to park, things like that. That is all stuff that I would always include, just because that's stuff that I appreciate and information that I desire to know when I'm attending an event, so that I, like Greg said, don't get there and I'm flustered by, it's just chaos. What do I do? Why is nobody seems to know? And then people are making decisions on the fly, but making decisions on the fly is never super great. And you also want to be respectful of your neighbors, and you want to be respectful of your, if you have a suite above or below you, you want to be respectful of those people too. And you want to be respectful with your friends and your helpers' time that they're helping you for the day, and just making that as efficient. And it's going to be a crappy day because nobody wants to actually move, but if you feed them really well, if you feed them really well and you organize it really well, I think that just helps alleviate some of that stress that everybody is just going to feel, because they're there in the heat. I mean, if you're doing it in the middle of winter, then it's freezing cold or whatever, outside in the elements, and doing this move for somebody else. And then at the end of the day, all you get out of it is that you're tired, right? So you want to make it worth their while. But a baseline for it is just, what would you appreciate if you were the person showing up to help for something like this? And start there. Don't just stay there, because I know that some people that might be listening to this are the kind of people that are like, I'd probably just wing it. And it's like, okay, so that's a great baseline to start at. So then what can you do to improve upon that? So don't just wing it. Put some plans into concrete steps, or if you're the kind of person that likes to organize, the different times of the day, then don't just organize moving out and moving in, but take it a step further and maybe do a moving out and then an unloading and then a moving in, and then that will get you onto a little bit more consistent of a schedule for the day. Like, just take it a step further, because you never know. Like, I might be helping and you don't want me to freak out, right? So
I think if you walk into a chaotic situation, all you have to do is stand with your face tilted towards the sky and your arms straight down and say, "I need an adult! Someone give me some direction!" And someone will help you. It always works for me.
I'll have to employ that one next time.
Yeah. Somebody takes charge because somebody else is having a breakdown. It works.
Unless you're supposed to be the adult in the situation. Yeah, so those are just a little of our experiences and things that we found that help our moving, our voice cracking apparently,
Yeah.
and that help our moving events to either make the move better, or like I
think at the end of the day, it's just like, be organized, bring in friends, provide food. And that's, if you have those three things, I think it'll be a pretty good move day.
I think we will have to do another podcast on Greg's experiences moving overseas, because that's not something I've done, and that sounds crazy, like psycho.
Yeah.
So.
No,
yeah,
sure.
and that's keeping in mind that we have, or at least for myself, I've only ever moved within the city. I have done like a short trip to school outside of the city, outside of the province actually, but that, I knew I was returning, like I've said, and I didn't really worry about the stuff I left behind. So I've never experienced that interprovincial move even. It's just been within the same city. Holly's had a move across provinces, so I don't know if that was
where I wasn't coming back.
Yeah. So I don't know how that move sat with you differently than moving within a city, but you also had less stuff in that move. So
yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, so that could be a cool topic to dive into, just the technicalities of moving greater distances, which is also the name of our upcoming podcast about bricks of cheese street racing.
Greater? What?
Oh dear.
I think Holly wins the pun for this.
Dang it.
So reachy.
Come on, guys, I tried.